Did you ever answer a question, who do you want to be when you grow up? I did when I was about 7. But I think this question can be more empowering than we realize. Actually, the way how we approach an answer to that question can be deeply transformative. Because normally when we hear that question, whether it's put into the words like, who do you want to be when you grow up? Or what do you want to do when you grow up? We focus ultimately on a profession, on activities, on doing. So answers could be, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a scientist, I want to be a vet, I want to be a hairdresser, I want to be a model, I want to be a flight attendant, I want to be a boss. But if we started answering that question differently, if we started inspiring others, also children, to answer that question differently, our journey, our path could look completely differently. Because that question, who do you want to be when you grow up, if we focus on actual being, our inner being, the answer starts guiding us towards doing and having, but from a completely different perspective. Rather than focusing on the activities that we need to do, we focus on who do I need to be. So I wish somebody told me that when I was a child, because then my answer would be different. I wouldn't say I want to be a speaker, I want to be an actress, I want to be, yes, a teacher. The answer would be different. I would say, I want to be an empowering woman. I want to be kind. I want to be generous. I want to be gentle. I want to be a leader. I want to be, yes. Do you start noticing the difference? Now I answer not from the point of doing, but from the perspective of being. And there is another very important aspect of that question. How often do we choose our being unconsciously? Because we don't get asked this question the way I've just asked. We don't spend time reflecting on the answer. Ultimately, I ended up spending probably over 20 years of my life being a victim, choosing a victim mentality subconsciously. And there is the trap, because if it's subconscious, we're not aware of it. And if we are not aware of it, we can get stuck and repeat the pattern that doesn't necessarily serve us, like being a victim. Who would have answered the question, who do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be a victim. Who would have answered that way? That particular question? Probably no one. So how is that possible that often we choose the victim mentality, being completely unaware of that? And what's even worse, when somebody tells us, hey, stop being such a victim, we take it personally and we get offended. So even there, where we get a sign, hey, maybe there is something you can twist a little or become more aware of, slow down and reflect, we get defensive. and often either hide or start an attack. Self-defensive mechanisms kick in. But if somebody told me that my answer to that question, who do you want to be when you grow up, was I want to be a victim. If somebody told me that back then, I think my journey, my life journey, would have changed its path. We can transform the areas, the things, when we get aware of it. Awareness is the step one on our path of inner transformation. And we transform not because there is something wrong with us. Absolutely not. We are born perfect. We are spiritual beings coming to the earth to have a human experience. We are perfect. So why do I talk about transformation? Why there are so many people talking about transformation? It's more about gaining awareness, becoming aware of something that we are not aware, becoming conscious of something that we are unconscious. Once I became conscious of the path that I was subconsciously choosing, of my path as a victim, it was the starting point of deep inner transformation. But just becoming aware of it is not enough. Once I realized that I am in this victim role, I had to slow down and reflect on, who do I want to be instead? Because we still are we still are going to choose certain set of behaviors that are characteristic for that being. So once I became aware that I was diving in the victim role, I had to ask myself a question: what do I want to replace it with? And my answer was, I want to inspire. I want to be an inspiration. I want to be an empowerment and not a victim anymore. And boy, the path has changed. I changed the path. My awareness has changed the path. My consciousness level has changed the path. And from that point, I started creating a different reality in my life. I started creating different life for myself. I started creating from the point of empowerment and not victimhood. That's why today I share with you with that question: who do you want to be? Not what do you want to do? Because once we know who we want to be, our spectrum of choices expands. Because if I want to be kind, generous, empowering, now I don't have to focus only on one profession. I can choose many different paths that will allow me to be myself. I'm not being limited by the construct of a job. I'm an expansive being, talented, passionate, with certain qualities, values, and passions that I want to share with. Once I'm aware of that, I want to be an empowering being, I know that I have got many choices where I can be exactly that. So who do you want to be when you grow up? If that topic of being somehow resonates with you right now, I want to invite you to one of the programs of my coaches, Jim Fortin. That's where I already knew who I want to be when I met Jim and his programs. But I remember watching online one of his training series called Be, Do, Have, where he also focuses on being first and having as the result of our being. And that way, we create reality from our empowerment, from this empowered source of our inner being, rather than working really hard to get to that end line, which not always is satisfying if we still are not being the empowered being. Jim Fortin runs the Be to Have series a few times in the year. If you're watching this video in October 2023, then that's the moment when you can join the training live. I will put the link to registration in the description to that video. And we dive even deeper into that being state and our values and our victimhood model and our choices, responsibility in one of his programs called TCP, which I also highly recommend. That's where we can dive deeper into ourselves. I remember joining TCP a few years ago. I was very skeptical. And the reason why I decided to join in the end was actually a peer pressure. Many of my female entrepreneur friends were joining his program. And at that point in my life, I felt like I don't need more digging in. Well, we need that all our lives. But at that point, I felt like I'm not hungry for that topic anymore. I was well read in self-development books. I have been attending other programs, and I had my own mentors and coaches that I was working with. But I jumped into that. I decided to join TCP, his coaching program, which is a group program, also online. And not only did I witness my own transformation, so again, it was like peeling off another layer of onion, actually many layers of onion. But I also witnessed a life transformation of hundreds of people that were taking part in that program. And it was so inspiring. It was also very encouraging, being surrounded by so many people who prioritize their own awakening. So if you are curious what that is all about, you can either read the description or contact me directly for a little chat where I can share with you with my journey. But today, my biggest goal was to inspire you to ask yourself that question, who do I want to be? And by reflecting on your answers, discovering new or maybe not so new values, new values that are important for you in your life, and maybe even changing your career based on what pops up for you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. I wish you a wonderful day, week, wherever you are in the world. And I'm grateful for being here. And I'm grateful for you and for the space that we have just shared together. All the best. I'll see you soon. Take care. And if you want to share with the answers that come up to you once you reflect on the question, who do you want to? Feel free to share with me in the comments.